The year was 1776, and the dream of liberty hung by a thread. The colonies had declared independence, but freedom on paper meant little against the might of the British Empire. The army that George Washington commanded was outnumbered, underfed, and untrained. Yet he stood before them, calm and unshaken, his presence alone enough to quiet fear. The British struck hard and fast. In New York, Washington's troops were routed. He watched from the cliffs of Brooklyn as smoke and cannon fire consumed the city. Every instinct told him to hold the line, but wisdom told him to retreat. He did, slipping across the East River under cover of fog, saving his army from destruction. It was not victory, but survival, and survival was enough. Defeat followed defeat, yet Washington refused to yield. He was not fighting for a single battle, but for an idea. When winter came, his men were cold, hungry, and worn thin by despair. Many believed the revolution was already lost. But Washington saw something the enemy could not. He saw the will to endure. On Christmas night, 1776, he crossed the icy Delaware River with 2,000 men. They marched through sleet and darkness to strike the Hessians at Trenton. The surprise attack changed everything. It was small in numbers, but vast in meaning. It proved that the cause still lived. Hope, once fading, was reborn. Days later, he struck again at Princeton, outmaneuvering British forces and lifting the spirits of a weary people. The victories were modest, yet they carried the weight of destiny. They showed that the colonists could stand, could fight, and could win. Through 1777 and 78, the struggle dragged on. The British took Philadelphia. Congress fled. The army camped at Valley Forge, where winter tore at the flesh and spirit alike. Frostbite, hunger, and disease claimed hundreds. Some deserted, others despaired. Yet Washington remained among them, riding through the snow each morning, wordless but present. His silence became strength. His endurance became faith. He prayed, not for victory, but for perseverance, for the courage to stand another day. His men, seeing their commander suffer as they suffered, began to believe again. When spring came, the army emerged from Valley Forge, not broken, but reborn. They were still outmatched, but now they were united. Washington had done what few could, forged discipline out of desperation. With French support soon secured, the tide began to turn. The arrival of Lafayette brought hope and resources from across the sea. Washington's patience was paying off. He coordinated with allies, struck strategically, and kept the cause alive through years of uncertainty. Still, the burden was immense. He wrote letters by candlelight, pleading with Congress for supplies, for pay, for shoes. He faced mutiny, political scheming, and endless doubt. Some in Congress even questioned his leadership, but Washington endured. He would not surrender to pride or despair. He led by presence, not proclamation. Finally, in 1781, the war reached its final act. At Yorktown, with French allies at his side, Washington seized the moment. His forces surrounded Lord Cornwallis's army, trapping the British between land and sea. Cannons thundered for days as smoke covered the fields of Virginia. When the bombardment ended, silence fell and Cornwallis surrendered. The war was over. The colonies were free. As cheers echoed through the camps, Washington did not celebrate. He simply bowed his head and thanked Providence. The victory was not his alone. It belonged to the men who had endured, the farmers who had become soldiers, the dreamers who had refused to kneel. He had led them through hunger, through blood, through despair, and into freedom. Yet, even in triumph, he knew the hardest part was still ahead. Because winning independence was one thing, building a nation was another.